Welcome to the 2021 State of the Community Luncheon. I am Nikki Devitt, president of the Petoskey Regional Chamber of Commerce, and it is my sincere honor to invite to your virtual stage today Dan Lettingham of Edward Jones, our chairman of the State of the Community. And this is where we're going to find out if Dan can jump up on his own or if I have to yank him up virtually onto the stage. And it looks like he should be able to. And ta-da!
Ta-da!
Welcome.
So we always talk about technology, and so I'm on my fourth computer system signing in this morning, so that's okay.
And we've only done how many run-throughs of this?
I know, right? Every day this week almost, so that's okay.
Yes. All right, I am going to turn it over to you, Chairman, and take it away.
Good. Hey, thanks a lot, Nikki. Greatly appreciate it. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to the 16th Annual State of the Community hosted by Petoskey Regional Chamber of Commerce. I also want to recognize our main sponsor of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, Consumers Energy, and OHM Advisors. And my name is Dan Lettingham of Edward Jones Investments here in Petoskey. And I want to welcome you once again. We are now the chairman of this event, and we've done this now the first time virtual in history. So it's going to be an interesting day. We have ran through this many times this week, and it does have a lot of advantages. So we're pretty excited. The neat thing for you is that we're going to have 9 speakers again this year in all different topics that we think are to the forefront of our community right now in an interview style program. One of the good things you're going to find is that, like last year, we'll be bebopping back and forth in different stages, but you're not going to have to swing in your chairs and trying to find out what stage is on next there. I want to recognize the chamber that this has been a tremendous amount of work. This is like restarting a whole new process and new program out there with the virtual aspect, getting everything lined up, interviews. So between all of the staff really contributing, there's been a lot of work on this one. So thank you very much, you guys. I really appreciate this. I want to read off a couple of dignitaries we have today. I found out we've got Tony Cutler here on behalf of Senator Wayne Schmidt of the 37th District. Dennis Polito is here on behalf of State House Representative John DeMoose of the 107th District. And Haley Hillebrand is here on behalf of the Office of Governor Whitmer. Thank you. It's all an honor to have you here today. Well, for the past 15 years of this event, we compiled a booklet of the community reports. The booklet's located on the chamber website, so it's a great download. There are 27 different topics this year, and it is a reoccurring theme you're going to find out as you do that. As you read through it. The person who put this through is Emily Stuccio. Emily, thank you so much for putting this together. This is a lot of work. Reorganizing, compiling, a little proofreading on our part would be helpful there. So it's been a big job. We really appreciate all the work that you went through to compile this. And again, I'll note that it's on the chamber website under the State of Community Luncheon if you want to peruse that. I think it's a couple of very, very interesting articles that you'll find. Again, I want to recognize our lead sponsor this year is Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, a longtime supporter of the Petoskey Chamber and throughout the state. While they're not able to join us today, they do have a message to share through a video.
Good afternoon. I'm Suzanne Miller-Allen, the Senior Director of Community Responsibility and Social Mission at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. It is an honor for us to be a sponsor today of the Petoskey State of the Community Luncheon. What a year it's been since we gathered last at the casino for an informative lunch about the events in our community. The COVID-19 pandemic has consumed all aspects of our life over the last year. At Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, we have worked throughout the year to ensure that our employers, members, and the community have access to information and treatment for COVID. We have waived all COVID treatment costs through September 30th for our members. Our My Blues Perspective, MIBlues, BLUES, perspectives.com, and our healthiermichigan.org blogs have served as a resource with the most up-to-date information on things happening with the pandemic each and every day. We have sponsored master classes to assist our employers and provide information about things that have gone on with COVID. Our philanthropic response has been strong as we have sought to expand access and telehealth, particularly in our rural areas. 2 Northern Michigan Grantees, Child and Family Services, and Catholic Human Services receive grants as part of the telehealth expansion work in our partnership with the Michigan Health Endowment Fund. I want to thank Nikki and her team at the Chamber for the great work and the partnership that we have. On behalf of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, thank you and enjoy this virtual event.
Well, great. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. Great message. We also want to thank our additional supporting sponsors, Consumers Energy and OHM Advisors. So let's get this show started. For the past 2 years, we've had to change how we approach this event. We wanted to maximize the potential for every different topic that we can cover in a very short amount of time. So in this virtual environment, we intend to do the same. Well, the bonus or not so bonus, like I mentioned, you don't have to switch about in your seats. But we're also able to record this event. So we'll be on the Chamber's website for later for people to take a look at. One thing I want you to notice, which I see a lot of you have participated in, is that on the chat on the right-hand side, since the speakers are not able to hear your applause or any of your feedback, so feel free to use that. Feel free to use that, sorry about that. Feel free to use that chat in order to do that for them. So about 12 months ago, we started this program highlighting the continued change of leadership. And we're going to continue that this year. The Chamber itself was in the final stages of the nationwide search to replace Carolyn Smith. After 17 years as president, he was. So Carolyn's here today. So again, welcome, Carolyn. It's great to see you at a different table and greatly appreciate everything you did in the past. The board of directors made the final decisions a few weeks later after this event last year, and they now have chosen, which we know is Nikki DeVette. Nikki will be celebrating her first year as president of Petoskey Chamber Week, and I am proud to say that Petoskey Chamber has continued to be the key driver of business community, even in the most challenging of times. So each year we take a look through those reports, read through those, and find the overwhelming theme in this, obviously, is going to be COVID-19 pandemic and how they adapted on those areas. So I want to bring up Nikki at this point in time. Nikki, if you can join me to give us a little updates what happened this last year.
Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's do this. We know that the balance of 2020, all of 2020, really was trying to figure out how to use the two things that we knew were the most important, what we had to be aware of, the balance of our health and safety of our residents and the economic survival of our businesses. It was everywhere we looked, and hence the term Petoskey Strong. We were so inspired, Dan and the Chamber team, to see the resilience in all of our business as we read through these reports, because we saw it everywhere for the last year, the outpouring of support for our community. Everywhere you looked, there were heroic efforts from our businesses and essential and frontline workers as well, from the early days until now. And it's been nothing short of amazing. And as Dan indicated, when we read the reports this year, we recognized something that we felt was very important to share now. This is not how we typically highlight these reports, but it can be said that this is not a typical State of the Community luncheon. And I don't think any booklet will ever read the same. After 16 years, this one is for the history books for sure. So the following words and phrases are so completely all-encompassing and powerful on their own, and not because we've all said them, but because they were repeated over and over throughout the different reports from all the different sectors again and again. So this is what we want to start off today and leave you with as well. These are the words: resilient, challenged, opportunity, politics, safety, fear, looking forward, adaptability, tested, focused, adversity, grace, community, essential, unprecedented, innovation, perseverance, and recovery. We think this is the best case, that as a community, we understand the challenges we have faced and we are celebrating the successes we have made and we will continue to make. This community is truly Petoskey Strong. And now, Dan, I'm going to turn it back to you so we can kick off our interviews and highlight just how far we came in 2020 and where we are going in the future.
Thank you, Nikki. That was awfully nice of you and very calm and selective for what you've gone through this last year. So I will congratulate you guys for going through a tumultuous year. And really the poise, I think, and the value that you provided to us is greatly appreciated. So let's kick off this with obviously something that might be in everybody's minds this last year. It's been at the forefront of 2020 and it's going to be at the forefront of 2021. It's healthcare. So we are happy to be joined today with Dr. Josh Meyerson and Health Officer Lisa Peacock from the Health Department of Northwestern Michigan to kick things off today. So Josh is joining us. How you doing, Josh?
I'm here. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Hello.
Lisa, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Dan?
We're good. Great. Well, hey, I really appreciate you taking a little time out of your schedule today because you're probably not doing anything at all. You know, you're sitting back, relaxing, right?
It's Friday, right?
Yeah. You know, I seriously, I really applaud you guys. It was for what you've done for us on top of what you normally do. It's amazing. I'll start with that. And we knew that we wanted to cover this as the first topic of the event today. It's an incredible time, and to see people rise to the occasion, I like to highlight those people. So let's dive in a little bit. Josh, I think I want to ask you first, is that from contact tracing to testing to vaccines, can you discuss the challenges and successes the health department has had over this last year or so?
Yeah, sure. And Emily's going to bring up a picture for you to highlight that. But, you know, the past year has presented enough challenges, I think, for all of us, you know, for everyone. I hope for a generation, right? And, you know, our biggest challenges, I think, have centered around just having to quickly adapt and pivot to meet the needs of our community during these periods that have really just been, you know, somewhat unpredictable and uncertain. You know, we had to really ramp up our services and capabilities in communicable disease to handle all the contact tracing, especially during the surges that we had in the over the summer, and then the big surge that we just got through here over the last few months in October to November, December, into January. And, you know, our regional lab is another example. You know, our regional lab was a single employee that did water testing for people to make sure their water was safe to drink. We didn't do clinical testing. That's not something that we've ever done before. But, you know, we needed to meet that need, and now it does both. And we've worked to provide timely testing that was such a struggle for so many months for so many people in our community. You know, and now, you know, of course, the mass vaccination clinics, to use the word unprecedented, you know, and I think there the challenge is really to meet that. We've meshed our staff, you know, with an incredible group of volunteers, you know, the men and women of the National Guard, our state resources, our local EMS, our counties, our emergency management, our school districts, our law enforcement, who've all helped out to provide, and here's a photo, you know, to provide a life-saving vaccine to people like Harriet here, you know, one of our fine nurses, Nan Graham, who's done so much to help, you know, pregnant women and infants and young families, but here she is, you know, providing a vaccine to one of our esteemed senior citizens. So, and that was at the Petoskey High School. I think you can all recognize that. So just, you know, a great example of that when we're all working together, we really all make a difference.
Amazing. Again, incredible. From the feedback that I'm getting from some of my clients, that I think the stress that you're relieving is amazing, just with giving them hope through that. So all that you've done, we really appreciate all of an officers, the staff that's gone through that. Lisa, let's turn to you. Many people have not ever used or had a need for the services of the health department in the past. The functions, you know, the services that you provide are so wide ranging. Now, how have you seen that the adaptation, I guess I would say, from the practice since COVID-19 first case, and continue to balance that and everything else that you do?
Yeah, pivot and adapt has certainly been our theme throughout this year. And, you know, when you think about all the public health services that we normally provide, we just were laughing at our table before the presentation, talking about how Josh and I have spent much of our careers trying to explain to the community what the health department does. And so I don't know if that will ever be a question that we have to answer during our lifetimes again, but so much of what we do in public health we consider to be essential and is important important for the community, from our environmental health division that involves both, environmental safety and food safety, just really critical functions to society and critical functions of the economy. Certainly not something that we can just stop. And our nursing staff who provide home visits and immunizations, and then our community health staff that have social workers in the schools providing critical mental health services for kids. It's all essential. And so I think, the pattern that we have tried to follow is just this constant pattern and process of reevaluation and change. And, I think we've been able to pivot and scale up and down as the needs have changed throughout the pandemic by really maximizing our partnerships with our community. Everybody who's here today has been an important part of this public health response to this virus that's taken over our lives. And we couldn't do it without all of you. Being flexible, our staff, our communities, everyone we work with being flexible. And then just this constant listening to what the community needs. You mentioned the information that we've been providing throughout the pandemic response. I think that's just been a critical part, that information is power, and people need to understand what's happening, what their risks are, what we know about what will happen next, to be able to function every day. And so that's been really important to us. The picture that we're sharing right now is a picture of our staff preparing to board a plane on Fresh Air Aviation to go over to Beaver Island to provide one of our many vaccination clinics over there. That is an isolated population that obviously talk about transportation barriers and being able to get to vaccine when they need it to address their needs. I think this is a great example of being flexible and adaptable. You can see in the cooler, in the wagon there, that we have our supplies and a cooler with the vaccine in it. And thanks to the partnership of all the people on the island and the aviation crew, we were able to get there and get that community vaccinated, their eligible populations, in a timely and effective way. So, I think that it's just this constant process of triage and understanding that all of our community needs are important. How can we best continue to meet the ongoing needs as well as the emerging needs related to the pandemic?
Yeah, that was very nicely said, and it sounds like it's all wrapped in a nice, neat bow, doesn't it? But it's not necessarily. So as you look at this, being data-driven is very critical. I think the facts that are out there, the accurate data you're providing, the cases. Lisa, I want to tell you that we've subscribed to your emails, your daily update emails, and they're perfect that you guys all put out. The information's great. I think it's nice, factual. It gives everybody the knowledge locally what we're doing. So thank you for that. That's a very nice piece. And those of you out there who have not subscribed to that, take a look at their daily update email. It's a wonderful piece. Josh, let's go back to you. Now, Josh, accurate data, going back to that, cases, vaccines, it's obviously the critical component that we're looking at, that to the recovery we're going to be on. What's the latest efforts that you guys at the health department have gone through or put in place to help keep the businesses and community updated a little bit, or keep them on top of everything?
Yeah, I think, and Lisa's touched on it, and Dan, thank you for plugging our daily update and that anyone can subscribe to that. The communication of accurate information, of accurate health information, really is something that's always been a central role of public health. So it's nothing new, but I think the importance of it and the speed of it and the need to be timely has really ramped up here. And it's really a critical part of our pandemic response. Mm-hmm. I think we've tried to listen also to our community. We've tried to listen and get that feedback. And we've made a lot of changes to our dashboard over time, trying to listen to our community members and provide them the data that they need, so that they can work and live and recreate safely. Mm-hmm. So our website now, which you've put up here, that's our website in real live fashion, our data dashboard. It now it provides data on cases still, but it also provides data on our immunization progress. And what you can see is in green on the dashboard, those are the information that we provide that's from our data on vaccination progress in our area. And we update this weekly. We don't try to do it daily because, we're giving so many vaccines every day. A weekly tally is going to be, I think, a more accurate and easier way to show our progress. And then the data in the blue is from the state and their information. So you can see to date, this is as of the 16th, as of last Tuesday. We've given over 11,000 doses, but in our 4 counties, there's been over 22,000 doses. The partners, our hospital and healthcare systems, have provided to the citizens in our 4 counties. And you can see it's, we're going to also start tracking those percentages that we hope to see go up steadily here. I think this green chart really shows you how it started off somewhat as a trickle there in December. And then January, things really ramped up, and you can see how steep that curve is. I think, that just shows you a lot of hard work going on. And I think, at least I know a lot of people waiting and wanting to know what's going on. I think this can show you there's progress, and we're getting through that list. It's a long list, but we're getting through it as quickly as we can.
Oh, fantastic. No, that's, I'm studying your chart. That was a very interesting chart. And I like that website for the dashboard standpoint you put out. It's, again, factual data is always going to help us as we determine everything. Is there anything else that either one of you or both of you want to put out there that we haven't covered yet in today, that just so you let the public know of anything in particular?
I would just like to add that we've had some great conversations this week with representatives from both our senior population and our students. And they're both telling us important things. And I think the important message that they are counting on us for is that we need to keep the transmission of COVID-19 suppressed in our community until everyone can be safe, until we can achieve that widespread vaccination of the population, which is going to take time. But seniors are many isolated at home, counting on us to keep them safe until it's their turn to be vaccinated, so that they can be reunited with their families and their grandkids. And students who are in school, just really counting on the adults in their lives to enforce the rules, and they know what the safety measures are, and they want to see us making sure that we're keeping everyone safe. So everyone stay safe and hang in there. We'll get this done. It just will take some time.
Absolutely. Josh, anything to add?
No, I think that's good. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having us.
Yep. Oh, that's great. They don't really necessarily give out capes or anything, but I would definitely give out a cape to you and all of your staff and your team to protecting us and becoming our own superhero in our own community. So thank you so much. That was very kind, and I greatly appreciate all of the work. And we know that there's a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes, after hours, weekends, doing this. So thank you, and tell your team, please, and everybody else who's affiliated with you, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
What I want to do now is I want to go on behalf of the entire community. Like we said, thank you for that. Technology does have its perks, so thank you both for coming on today. Our next speaker is going to be on pre-recorded, so see you guys. We have a pre-recorded message from one of our speakers. Nikki had an earlier conversation this week to update us on the state of the government with Kendall Killingsmith, Parks and Rec Director from City of Petoskey. Let's take a look.
Last year, one of the topics that we touched on and talked about being an issue we would look forward to in 2020 was the issue of high water and shoreline erosion. Well, a lot has happened in the last 12 months, and we're grateful that we can speak now with Kendall Killingsmith, the Parks and Recreation Director of the City of Petoskey. Thank you very much, Kendall, for taking the time today. As I said, a lot has changed in just the last 12 months, and you have had your hands full addressing a variety of issues. So what I would love to know is, how are you addressing change like this? What's the biggest challenge?
Well, the biggest challenge is just everything is so unpredictable. And certainly, 2020 was a very unpredictable year just from day to day. But when you throw these high water perfect storms and these climate events, it's very challenging, to manage. So that's the biggest challenge that we have, is just we're not entirely sure what is next, and also offering a variety of solutions can be certainly an issue as well.
So what we're seeing here, this is the most recent challenge, actually.
Well, it's one of them. Yeah, this was a result of a storm that happened mid-November that came out of nowhere. It was the perfect event with the current and with the winds and with the waves. We had significant damage to the shoreline, as you'll see. We also had some significant damage to a pier, which we will be fixing in the spring. But this is a result of a weather event that did damage to Bayfront Park in areas that Bayfront Park has never had damage to in the past. So we get these events where, you know, it's compromising our infrastructure every 30 years. And we have to react to try to get these fixed.
Now let's talk about the most notable damage we saw in 2020. And that was the portion of the Little Traverse Wheelway between Magnus Park and East Park. We've heard many times people wanting to know what is the future of the Little Traverse Wheelway in that section. And there was 2 fallouts actually, correct?
Correct. The major one happened in April. If you recall, we had an extremely wet spring, and this happened. This was an area that we were monitoring some slope failures, and this was just an event that unfortunately happened and certainly compromised this section of the Little Traverse Wheelway for a long time. You know, one of the challenges we have is being patient in understanding what our realistic fixes are. And really, until the water level starts to recede for an extended period of time, you know, some of these issues that we've had on the wheelway are just going to have to remain that way until we're confident that the water levels have trended down and we can effectively address it with design and with engineering. So right now, what we're looking at are some options on 31, some short-term options and some long-term options that will certainly benefit the businesses and the bikers and the pedestrians who want to go from point A to point B, but certainly this section will no longer be an option for quite some time.
And this is the secondary failure as well. So there was an additional.
Yes, yeah, and I believe this happened August.
So stay off the wheelway in those portions and know that the city and other entities are working on solutions moving forward. So let's talk with our last question as we wrap things up here. The City of Parks and Recreation Department had, like we said, your hands full in 2020, including a damaging storm last July that was just devastating from a Parks and Rec standpoint. But the rapid response that came from the Parks and Recreation in the city of Petoskey was absolutely unbelievable to continue to maintain the beauty that we have. We're grateful for you. So tell us about exciting things, good things, projects on the horizon. What do you see looking forward into the future for the city of Petoskey and Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, with all the doom and gloom, there are some good things. We are looking at the installation of our Iron Bell Bridge, which will connect the college's natural area to River Road Sports Complex. We expect that to be completed by May. We are putting a solar panel demonstration project on City Hall that we also expect will be done here late winter. And we are waiting for the responses for some grants that have been written where there will be some more improvements throughout the city. So yeah, it's challenging as it has been. There are a lot of good things that are happening, and we are very, very pleased to live where we do. And I get a lot of personal satisfaction from being a part of success of the city of Petoskey.
Thank you so much, Kendall. Now we're going to move back into real time and check in on the state of housing with Lisa Hoyt, Membership Director at the Petoskey Chamber.
Thank you, Nikki. So last year's housing report discussed the shift from a buyer's market to a seller's market, and also the low inventory of housing in our area driving up prices. Joining Chris is a board member of the Emmett Association of Realtors. Chris, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you, Lisa.
You too, you too. So it's still very much a seller's market in early 2021. What can you tell us about the real estate market in general on what we saw in 2020?
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, it is indeed continues to be a seller's market. The unprecedented times, of course, of COVID have interestingly enough driven sales in our area. So many now have the desire to live in our region in northern Michigan. So many more people have found our paradise up here. I'll share some statistics with you. In Emmett County, the number of residential sales in 2020 was 779 for a total of $374 million. This is compared to 705 sales in 2019 for a total of $240 million. In our entire northern Michigan region, total residential sales in 2020 was 723 million, which was up 40% from 2019. The average residential sold price for Emmett County in 2020 was $480,000, and that's compared to $141,000 in 2019, which is also an increase of 40%. Pretty astronomical numbers. It continues to be a very hot market in early 2021.
40%, that's an incredible increase. You talk about people that are finding our little spot of paradise. So we're definitely seeing a shift in locally purchased homes versus outside our region or even outside of our state. Can you share a little bit more information about what you're seeing with that?
Sure, great question. We're actually seeing a combination of both locals that are purchasing, selling and purchasing, as well as an influx of buyers from both other parts of Michigan as well as out of state. So many professionals now are working remotely, and many are planning to do so for an extended period of time or even some permanently. So we have seen some young families, some professionals actually relocate to northern Michigan, put their kids in school here, and have plans to stay permanently. It's pretty exciting.
Yes, definitely. So is the real estate market seeing any new challenges or limitations?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest challenge right now is the significant demand that we have for people who want to buy in the area and very low inventory. This continues to be the new norm for several months now. Properties that are coming on the market that are priced correctly can have multiple offers on them within the first day or two and will often sell above the list price. So buyers really have to be prepared to act quickly. If they're planning to get financing, they really should be pre-approved. If they can pay cash, it will definitely put them in a better position in their negotiating. And another statistic that I'd like to share is although many may realize building costs have increased significantly, what's also interesting is that the sale of vacant land has also increased as well. Sales of vacant land in our area have increased from 157 transactions for a total of 15 million in 2019 to 206 transactions for a total of 40 million in 2020. The average sale of vacant land increased from 99,000 to 194,000 in 1 year. And construction activity is paramount in our area, even though the costs are high. So interesting times. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share on the real estate market today.
Chris, thanks so much for taking time to share this information with us. Now we're going to move over to Dan, and Dan will welcome our next guest speaker, Kim Baker of the Manna Food Project.
Well, thanks, Lisa. Unfortunately, Kim couldn't make it today with us, so Jessica Stopecker is going to be with us. Jessica, will you join me on stage? What we have is, of course, with the Manna, it's one of the most critical, I think, nonprofits in our region right now with our current situation. And we're pretty excited, again, to have Manna up on the stage, as you say, Jessica. So welcome to the stage. Jessica, you are the Community Engagement and Volunteer Coordinator for Manna, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Wonderful. Well, good. Well, thank you. Thank you. Couple of questions right now that, and I know I talked to Kim earlier last year on this too. And my concern was, you're the primary food bank for 3 counties responsible for distributing to the food to all of those in need that are in the area. And now COVID hits, and now we have some operational changes and challenges and things that out of the norm that we've never seen in addition to the need. So what changes have you put in place, or I guess adaptations have you put in place?
Yeah, well, like most organizations, we've had to adapt really quickly. From the get-go, we realized that if one of our staff members was sick, or if we had to shut down for any reason, as you said, there goes food for 3 counties. So we've been really careful from the very beginning. One of the first things we did was close our interior client choice pantry. So there was no longer, 50 plus clients coming into our facility at any given time. And instead, we started distributing food as a curbside drive-through service with pre-assembled boxes and then bags of like fresh and frozen items. So they were still getting about the same quantity and definitely the same quality of stuff that we would normally distribute. But it was moved outside to provide a safer environment. Another thing we did was we put our food rescue program on hold. Food rescue is one of my favorite programs. We actually go to our area businesses and restaurants like Meijer, Walmart, Aldi, Big Apple Bagels, stuff like that. And we pick up their surplus food or day-old breads or anything like that. We had to put that on hold because at first we didn't know how the virus was transmitted, how long it stayed on services, and we also just really didn't want to risk our volunteers going in and out of buildings like that. So that remains on hold at the moment. We also, speaking of volunteers, we drastically reduced the number of volunteers in our building. In 2019, throughout the whole year, we had over 800 different individuals come in to volunteer with us. This year, I just did the total, and throughout the period of March to December, the COVID-19 period, we just had a little over 100. So a very dramatic decrease in the number of people that we relied on. It was mostly core volunteers and couples that came in to work together, which really helped us through the toughest moments. So it's not been easy. Our staff and our volunteers, we get wary at times. And we've been in the office and in the warehouse from the very beginning, just trying to work through this, but we've been able to keep going.
So when you mentioned the food program, it's one of my favorites too. And it's just amazing to watch how much donations come out of even the smallest businesses. I mean, I see them bringing out giant bags of bagels, every time that I go by there early in the morning. And now we're not doing that. So I'm going to kind of veer off a little bit and kind of dive a little deeper inside of that. What are you doing in place of that now? I mean, now all the donations we had before that were given as food, now you have an increasing amount of food needed, yet we have a decreasing amount that's been donated. How do you overcome that?
Right. Well, and that's a very good question. A lot of folks think that we rely just on donations. We actually purchase and acquire free and low-cost food from Feeding America and the USDA primarily. And donations are also a significant source of our food. It's about 25% normally. But it provides a lot of variety and, provides a little spice of life to our clients who also deserve to have lots of choices, even if they're needing food assistance. So although we had a decrease in donations and at this time, we're no longer accepting food donations from the public too. Right. We've been able to purchase low-cost food from a variety of new suppliers. We've had to go out and kind of search for new partnerships when our previous suppliers, they were running low on inventory. It was the shortages of food supplies and inventory throughout the country and throughout the world actually were very limited and unpredictable, but we've been able to make local partnerships, including Burnett Foods down, I believe, in Elk Rapids. And also purchasing from local farmers as well. So we've been able to increase our purchasing. I believe in April of 2020, we doubled our purchasing. in comparison to the year before. And luckily, we've been able to prioritize the fresh food. So.
That's fantastic. I think, you've overcome this period of time now that we've all struggled through. But now let's talk about going forward. So what's the plans going forward? And we still have this year. We're in the middle of it now in February. Ever-changing needs. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. So it's difficult to plan with so much uncertainty, as everybody has encountered. So, but we're really prepared to pivot in whatever way that's needed. In the beginning of the year, we actually pivoted and operated 2 mobile food pantry sites, one at Boyne Highlands for 4 weeks and one at Odawa Casino for 6 weeks. And that way we were able to provide food to hundreds of families, and many of whom we've never served before. So that was completely new to us. And we're willing to do that again if the need arises. We're also continuing to respond to 211 calls and from the health department when folks have to quarantine from COVID-19. And so we're able to actually deliver emergency food boxes to these folks. So that's been going really well, and we continue to do that. And another unexpected thing that we've been partnering with United Way on is supplying 20,000 masks, KN95 masks, that were a little bit left over from their drive at the Emmett County Fairgrounds. And we've been handing those out to our volunteers and to our clients and to our partner pantry directors, just doing our duty. So we're really here to help any way we can. We're continuing all of that, what we've done in 2020. And we're just hoping that everyone continues to support us. And we know that we have a very, very generous community to do that.
Well, good. Well, we're very fortunate that way. I think that a lot of those in the community know that when they donate to MANA, that it goes directly right back into the counties and in the community. So it's been obviously helpful, and now that you're purchasing a lot. So again, tell all of the volunteers and everybody there, thank you so much from all of us. We know that it's hidden behind the scenes, this need, and it always has been there. So it's been more dramatic now. But the problem I'm seeing, at least I'm hearing about, is that we're not in touch with it as much. You see it. We're a little bit now separate from each other. So you're reaching out, you're doing your things, tell everybody thank you. And, of course, a shameless plug that I'll tell everybody is that they are still accepting money donations. So MANA will always take donations.
Thank you. Now I don't have to ask.
I know. So again, still thank you so much, Jessica. Appreciate it, and keep up with the good work.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's move back now to Nikki to look at the infrastructure with TrueStream.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that very much. And I am extremely excited to be joined on stage by Sean Lamp, the CEO of TrueStream, because one of the key challenges in the growth of our region is the increased need for rural broadband. So, Sean, you are here to offer us some insight. Thank you.
Hi, Nikki. Thanks for the opportunity to join you today.
We appreciate it. So let's talk. Okay, we hear so often about the rural connectivity challenges in our area, but it's hard to get your head around it. So can you give us like a 10,000-foot overview on some of the key contributing factors that make it so?
Sure. Like you said, it is a challenge. It's not just our area, it is across the country where rural broadband is a huge challenge. And I'll try and boil it down just to a few simple points. The first one that I'll mention is geography. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges when you think about rural America. It's just such a large area to cover, and customer density in rural areas is most of the time much less than it is in urban areas. So what that means is it takes a lot more infrastructure to serve the same number of people. And then that leads you to your second challenge, which gets into your cost, because you start talking about the need for that much more infrastructure, and obviously it's going to cost a lot more to build that infrastructure. So deploying broadband to rural America is very expensive. And even with a lot of the federal grant and funding programs that are available, it is still a very capital intensive endeavor to take on. And then I think one of the biggest challenges that just about everybody here is going to be able to appreciate is time. The pandemic probably amplified that for all of us. It's just the need for internet access, no matter where you live, is very, very real. And it takes a long time to deploy something like this. And unfortunately, we're not really in a spot where we have the luxury of time. So it's a real big challenge to try and get broadband coverage to everybody who needs it. And in this area, we've been pretty fortunate. Going back to late 2017, the Great Lakes Energy Board made the decision to be part of that rural broadband solution, approving a pilot project for our area. And that was what started TrueStream back then. And we started building our fiber network in 2018. And it's very exciting now for us to be able to say that the majority of Great Lakes Energy members in Emmett County now have access to broadband in rural areas.
That's fantastic. And with the increased remote work, as we're talking about, you don't have time when all of a sudden everybody has to be working remotely. And, we want to have that strong infrastructure of the future to attract more workers to relocate to our area in that remote sense, but also sustain who we have. So you talked about where TrueStream has come. What are the plans for the future?
Well, Great Lakes Energy and TrueStream are committed to bringing fiber internet service to all of our members. So, as I mentioned, we do have the majority of Great Lakes Energy members in Emmett County with access to TrueStream now, but we're certainly not stopping there. We are currently expanding TrueStream services into Charlevoix, Antrim, Otsego counties, parts of Sheboygan County, with the goal being just to get it to as many people as fast as we can. So, bringing broadband service to all the rural areas, I think most people can appreciate all the opportunities that's there. I mean, remote work is obviously one that we're talking about, but also you start talking about remote learning and remote business and all of those different things. And putting the best possible internet into rural America is going to level that playing field between rural areas and urban areas. And it's just very exciting to be able to do that. And I think there's also going to be a lot of, it's going to take a little time for some of this stuff, but I think there's going to be some opportunities for other potential too. I mean, I think, based on what Chris was talking about with the real estate and all that stuff, we obviously have some housing challenges in our area, but putting broadband access into some of these rural areas hopefully will open up more avenues for just for property that's available to build houses on. If we can have internet access available every place, then every place is available to build houses. So hopefully it's one less barrier that we have to overcome. We continue to hear from a lot of community leaders for things like telehealth and remote learning, remote work that we've talked about, virtual sales. I mean, just from a real estate, car sales, small businesses. I mean, everybody is kind of jumping into that. And it's been really interesting in the area over the past year with the pandemic, and just seeing how everybody's adapting and using technology a little bit differently. And really, I mean, it's done nothing except increase the need for broadband access. But it's also, I think, opened just a lot of doors for people and businesses to be doing things in ways that, maybe we thought about doing it that way, but it just was kind of so far out there that it's like, we'll save that for another day. Well, take the good with the bad and all that stuff. And try and find some positives in all this. And just the shift that we're seeing there, I think, is a tremendous positive for our area.
It absolutely is. And that's what I like too, is the future was brought to our front porch. We didn't really have a choice but to open the door and just go, okay, we're ready, or we're going to get there. And, with initiatives that TrueStream has and, really broadening the broadband, if you will, that's how we'll get there. Looking at the challenges, though, you said in 2020, I mean, there was huge challenges, but there was some big successes. And, one that comes to mind very early on was the collaboration that TrueStream made to provide hotspots during the spring, especially when we think back to that remote learning and that sheer panic level of how do you educate when they can't. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, yeah, like you said, when the pandemic started, there was just a ton of unknowns. I mean, none of us had a playbook for what we were supposed to do or even what to do. So it really was a lot of collaboration. We were contacted by a lot of the area schools and residents just asking if there's any way that TrueStream could be part of that solution to help with remote learning. And, through those discussions, it was just phenomenal to see the community come together. I mean, we worked with a lot of different areas, local townships, Emmett County, various churches, schools, libraries, the Petoskey Youth Soccer Association, and just, with the ultimate goal of trying to find places that we could put Wi-Fi hotspots for the community to use. So it had to be in areas where there was parking lots that we could use and things like that. And that's why I say it was just great. The community members stepping up and on offering their facilities, offering their parking lots, that type of stuff. And because of that, we were able to put up some hotspots that all the community could use for remote learning, remote work. And we heard a lot of really good stories from various people that whether it was elementary school, middle school, high school, all the way through college, just all walks of life. We were able to hear stories of how it just was a lifesaver for a lot of people. So that was just tremendous to hear. And I got to say, the experience for us working with the community, it was just a real eye opener, and it showed just how this community works together and how we truly are Petoskey strong.
It absolutely does. Thank you, Sean, so much for that update. We appreciate you joining us today and appreciate the future that we know is coming, and we'll get there definitely. So thank you so much. We are going to go back now and allow Lisa to come back up on stage as we are going to take a look at the state of.
Thank you, Nikki. Tourism is a backbone of our economy, and it's no secret that 2020 offered up some unique challenges. Here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of tourism in a pandemic is Judy Booth, Vice President of Sales for Boyne Resorts. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, no, thank you, Lisa. This is a great opportunity to talk about what I know touches everybody in our community. And I think a year ago, we had no clue what was going to hit us. A year ago, all of our resorts shut down. There was a travel freeze going on in the state, and we really didn't know what was upon us. We didn't know what our future was going to be. Were people going to travel? Were people going to stay home? We really didn't have a clue. So we shut down all of our marketing. We were trying to be responsible and just take into consideration where people were at during that time frame. And then when Governor Whitmer opened and unleashed the travel, it was a floodgates all opened up here. Everybody wanted to come into a community that was less populated, that got fresh air, you could do outdoor activities. And I don't think we anticipated just the volume of what was going to come up here. I mean, it was awesome. You kind of have this mixed thing because you have responsibility to keep everybody safe, but it's also your responsibility to also drive that tourism, drive those revenues, and keep people working. So it was really tough to balance those two messages. But at the same time, we were able to take advantage of all of our green space, all of our outdoor, all of us were able to do that. Our 3 resorts, especially it was important because we had so much in terms of outdoor activities and things that people could do. So that was really hot for us. So we really took a look at that and pushed that out for our marketing. That was the sweet spot for all of us. How do we get people up here? So this is continuing on. So we started in June of last year, and we really haven't slowed down. We didn't slow down until probably when we didn't have snow. So for that first couple of weeks, and winter is still very hot right now too. But what is really cool is all the activities. So everything they can participate in, not just at the resorts, but the wineries, shopping. Everybody has figured out these really creative ways to still drive tourism and still be safe. And at the same time on the resorts, you're doing all this, you have all this business. So how do you meet the protocols, the cleaning protocols? How do you pivot in your operations to be able to accommodate all these people? And how do you do it very safely? And I have to say, I have to give props to the resorts and all the hotels that we've really done a good job keeping our guests safe, because we wouldn't see this much travel demand if we hadn't done that. So it's definitely been, pivot is a really good word that I want to add to Nikki's list of words, is just pivoting and being flexible, for sure.
So let me ask you about the messaging that Boyne Resorts put out there. Obviously, you're balancing having a safe environment and wanting people to come visit, but still being in this situation. So how did Boyne approach that?
It was all about the outdoors. It's safe to come back. It's safe to ski. It's safe to golf, to kayak, to horseback ride. Come back and enjoy it. And we've got your back in terms of the cleanliness and the safety. The good part about it is we've got this practice. We've all been doing it since March of last year. We know how to keep our guests safe. And a lot of people that are just coming in and reopening now, don't have that history and that practice of doing it. So for us, we just pushed out the message. There's a lot of space. You've got elbow room. Come on up and enjoy the whole region.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we know that we had a really strong summer and we had a very strong fall up here. And my question to you, with the workforce shortage, that how were you able to manage this busy season with that factor?
It has been very interesting for us, and one of the biggest ways we were affected is through housekeeping and not having the workforce to be able to accommodate that. So a lot of times we had to reduce our hotel inventory so that the housekeepers could get in and turn the rooms and make sure we're doing it within protocols and do it safely. In the restaurants, you're seeing, we don't have as much service in the restaurants, so there's a little bit more of a delay in getting served, and I think that's across the board. But you're trying effectively to figure out new ways. Do you add food trucks? Do you have, all the grab and go? Again, pivoting to try and do whatever you're doing safely. And I saw a lot of signs up, and we did the same thing, as being gracious and kind. Understand that there might be a little delay, and we really would appreciate being gracious and kind. But I think, as all of us knew, people were frustrated and it made it really tough. But we had to do these things in order to keep people safe. You might not be able to have the occupancy you really wanted to have, but at the same breath, you gave them clean rooms and it was a clean environment for people to be in. And this is going on into the winter. We're still busy. And so we're actively recruiting right now for the summer months. We are down in the schools. We're working with Michigan Works. We're trying every way that we can to make sure that we have enough staffing up here.
Great, great. As we move into this year, still with restrictions and being most likely into place for some extended period of time, what do you see as opportunities for Boyne and also for the industry as a whole?
We again
talked a little bit about taking advantage of the outside, and you've created that wonderful experience with the lighted path at your resort.
Yeah,
so I think you've started a few.
Yep, it's all about just thinking outside the box, and everybody, you see it in our restaurants, you see it in the wineries, you see it everywhere. Thinking outside the box to really use our outdoors. We're using tennis courts for wedding venues. The end, if you've done the Enchanted Trail at the very end where the yurt is, we're actually probably going to be using that as a wedding venue, the outdoor space around that. All of our activities are actually selling out, which has never happened, like the Segway, the zip line, all of that is selling out. We're doing mountaintop weddings, mountaintop receptions. Hopefully the outdoor capacities will increase like they were last year. We really need that to happen. Both for indoor meetings and outdoor. But if we see the outdoor increasing, it may be not necessarily the indoor, we can take advantage of that. And, like we talk with resorts, we can tent any green space anywhere. And then I think it's, about working with our partners. So Great Lakes Center for the Arts and in at Bay Harbor, if we have capacity issues, we can move convention groups over to Great Lakes Center for the Arts for them to spread out. We've used a lot of the wineries with different events that we have going on because they can go into the outdoor side of it. So we really need to continue that messaging of outdoors is where it's at, and we can provide it up in our region. Come on up, be safe, stretch out. We're good at this. We've been doing it for a year. And I think that will really carry us into this next year. Yeah, if we can get through the brides canceling their weddings this summer, if we can get through it like we did last year, that will be a good thing. Come on in the fall and the winter.
Oh, thank you, Judy. Congratulations to you and your team for your innovation and your creativity. And yes, you are absolutely right. We have so much amazing green space that we can take advantage of to have great events and outdoors in a safe environment. So thank you, Judy.
Yeah.
Now we're going to
Thanks, Lisa.
Now we're going to wrap things up, and we're going to move over to Nikki, and we're going to take a look at state of education.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa. And yeah, the state of education. Well, we know that it has changed dramatically. Our entire education system saw vast changes and challenges. To help us take a look at those and the achievements and what is to come, I am very happy to be joined on the virtual stage by Christopher Parker, Superintendent of the Public Schools of Petoskey, and Dr. David Rowland Finley, President of North Central Michigan College. Thank you both for joining us today.
You bet.
Thanks, Nikki.
Well, Chris, let's start with you. 2020 brought about a vast number of changes for everyone, but I think clearly and most evident in the beginning was the delivery of our education system. In addition to the fact, all that goes with it. So what was it like to adjust? And what really, at the end of the day, did you take away from this?
Yeah, so adjusting to multiple different factors throughout that whole time. So it started out with, let's adjust with how we're going to get from March 12th to June 12th when schools were closed down. Then we switched gears and adjusted to how are we going to deal with what was forecast to be the biggest budget deficit in school history, which fortunately didn't materialize, but took much of the month of June in planning and preparing for that based on the forecast that we had at the time. Then we switched gears in July and said, boy, now we've got the new roadmap for what schools need to look like, things that we need to take care of. And so we adjusted into all of that planning and worked on that pretty much right up until the start of school. So and then throughout the school year, we've continued to adjust to executive orders, to health orders, adjusted technology, our extracurricular offerings and activities, communications, and all of those types of things. So lots of adjustments, and I think our folks have done a really great job with that. And so in terms of takeaways, really we've kept students at the center of everything that we've been doing. And I think no matter what happens for us, as long as students are continuing to be at the center for us, we have a really great chance to take advantage of all the opportunities that things provide for us to make a difference in the lives of kids. And the other takeaway for us, I think, is our staff throughout the entire organization has just been absolutely phenomenal. They've stepped up. They've taken on new roles. We've assigned them to different buildings, doing different things. We've had people who have said like, oh, this new technology or this new learning management system or this new thing, yeah, I know how to do that and I'm willing to help you. So let's set up a Zoom, or I'll set up virtual office hours here. And people have also, I think sometimes, it's equally as impressive being able to put their hand up and go, you know what, I don't know how to do this and it freaks me out. And they felt comfortable enough within our organization to be able to say that. And then we got them the help and support. We got them the technical assistance that they needed. And so I think those were really important pieces for us as we adapted and made those changes. And then, the other takeaway for us has been the incredible support of the community, parents and caregivers. Like throughout the whole piece of it have been like, whatever you need to do to keep schools open, to keep things running. They've been with us every step of the way. Dr. Denbeston and McLaren started contacting with us early on in this process. It's just been great to have somebody with that knowledge and that skill set on speed dial for us to say, hey, we're struggling with this. Can you, and be able to provide us with some really clear guidance. I think has been a great advantage for us, and we're very appreciative of Dr. Denbeston's help. Dr. Meyerson, Lisa Peacock, who were here earlier, Natalie Kazaborski, Amanda Thompson, that whole crew at the health department, unbelievable in terms of helping us to guide and navigate through all of this, culminating, for us in terms of a big sigh of relief for our staff and 1,500 people in this area with the last of the vaccination clinics. So, I mean, people all over the place have stepped up. The chamber has stepped up and supported us whenever you could with expanding our reach for communication when we needed to get things out that were happening for almost 3,000 students. So thank you for that. Thank you for the PPE donations whenever you were able to facilitate that. And then the last takeaway, and it comes back, and this has been like something that we knew, something that we got into for this reason, but kids are incredible. So all their flexibility, their whatever it takes kind of attitude is like super inspiring to all of us as educators. So yeah, challenging in many ways, lots of adjustments, but some really good takeaways for us as well.
It's funny, you know, ending with the kids in this photo is absolutely fantastic because it just shows that it can be done, and we can manage a pandemic and still be there for our youth and our children to educate them when we know they need that and in person and that contact as much as possible. And when you say, you know, how they've adapted, I think you and I've had this conversation many times that this generation isn't going to be the generation that everybody feels sorry for. They're going to be the ones that we look to, you know, 30, 40 years from now and go, do you see how capable they are and how adaptable they are because of what they experienced? So thank you for mentioning that. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
Let's go. Go ahead.
Sure. They've definitely taught us some lessons and reminded us about maybe how inflexible we get as we get slightly more experienced.
That's a perfect way of saying it. Fantastic. Okay, let's turn it over. Dr. Finley. So there always seems to be a silver lining. We can always find one, no matter what the issue is. And so a pandemic is no different. Two great programs have come out of COVID, A Future for Frontliners and Michigan Reconnect, both leading the way to higher education opportunities for our community. Tell us about the role NCNC will be playing in this.
Sure. Thank you, Nikki. So North Central is a champion for both of these programs, and it's really about providing access to education. I'm going to share what may be a startling fact. We are down about 400 part-time students this semester. So the pandemic and associated economic downturn has really impacted a lot of people in our region, right? What we're seeing is a K-shaped recovery. Some people are doing very well economically, and others are really, really struggling. You know, we heard that earlier in the Man of Food presentation. The silver lining with Futures for Frontliners is that those folks who put it on the line back in May, June, even late April, have access to a community college education now. We have over 200 eligible students to participate in that. And this semester, 140 chose to do so. They can start over the summer, they can start in the fall as well. The My Reconnect program is the newest iteration of this, right? And so it's for adult learners 25 plus who don't have a college degree, right? This starts as soon as this summer and really kicks in the fall. I know it lists that there's 25 eligible thus far, but I will share that the state had 19,000 applications in the first 2 days and had to shut the system down to process all of that. So we'll be seeing many, many, many more. And what this means for our community, an associate degree provides 400,000 plus in earnings over a lifetime. That is good for that individual. More importantly, it's good for our entire community. Those dollars get reinvested and lift all of us up. So we see these as exciting opportunities for learners in our region. And if you know somebody who would benefit from My Reconnect, have them reach out to North Central.
Absolutely. Very good point. So now, final question for you both, and we're going to start with you, Dr. Finley. I want to know, what has the last year taught you that is going to change the future of education at NCMC, and what is on the horizon for NCMC going forward?
Last year taught us so very much. And like Chris, I'm so proud of our students, their adaptability, our faculty, staff, everybody stepped up to continue to deliver education face-to-face beginning September 2020, you know, as we've always done. In the spring, we rapidly shifted to online learning, held a virtual commencement, virtual campus tour, orientation, and that adaptability has continued, right? What we have seen and need to continue to do will be the technological expansion, right? Delivery of content online, how we're all using Zoom and now Remo, right? An example of that for you is going to be our lifelong learning program at the college. In 6 months, we now have 1,600 unique participants in that program. So those are classes workshops, events offered by the college for learners of all ages. And I'll invite Christy to put that link in the chat. This is a really exciting initiative and, again, part of a silver lining. Sean spoke earlier about improved access needed for our rural learners. We had ways to connect here in town, but you didn't have to go too terribly far inland where that wasn't the case. And so making that happen just as soon as possible throughout the entire Northern Michigan region is going to be really, really important. Providing extra academic support systems to our students. So think food insecurity, childcare, mental wellness through all of this. This has been a long slog, and we all feel it. Innovation and agility are going to be key as we move forward. At the college, with our students displaced from their clinicals, we've made a significant shift to use our high fidelity simulators in the health education building, right? Nursing, EMS, to get those folks back into the health system and serve us all. And then finally, growth is going to be necessary to survive and thrive. To that end, we are embarking a public launch of our Building Tomorrow Together campaign. Happened in late January, $9.9 million. It's about people, places, and programs. $1.5 million for scholarships and student success. The very visible big piece of all this, and we're going to invite you all to campus to check out this amazing newly renovated building, $7.4 million for the admin classroom building renovation and expansion, soon to be called the Bora Learning Center. And finally, programs. So think technology and innovation. Technology and innovation, which gets me right back to the top of the list with adaptability. That's where we're headed in the future. So it's an exciting time. All right, on to Chris.
Very exciting. All right, Chris, it's your turn. Now, Chris, you get to close the show out here and tell us. Yeah, come on, you got this. So last year, what did it teach Petoskey schools in the future of education, and what is on the horizon going forward?
I think the lesson, much like David was speaking about, is that adaptability and flexibility piece. And the better off the better you're able to do that, the better off you're going to be able to be. And so I think we need to capture some of those pieces that we've done now in terms of flexibility and how we're working together to make decisions that really benefit kids and be able to be really flexible and nimble as an organization. So this has tested us all individually in certain ways, professionally in certain ways, and as an organization collectively. It taught us different ways, or reminded us how we can really respond quickly and nimbly to those changes. So one of the things that we have in terms of like super excitement going forward is last night at our meeting, the board approved the beginning of Little Northman Preschool, which is going to be 2 classrooms, high quality preschool staffed by our own Petoskey school teachers. And really, in demonstrating our continued commitment to that whole pre-K through 12 continuum of high quality care, and recognizing our community has really needed this as a resource as well. So super excited about that. Great things are happening there. And then I just, this morning, like things happen, at funny times, and I get this great email from a teacher this morning who said to me something I think was like, well, this is perfect for our conversation today. And the teacher wrote, "Doors are opening to new ideas, more like what schools could be instead of what schools have always been. Education has to be our mission, not just our job. The faint of heart need not apply." And I just thought, thank you for that. Sometimes you don't know when you're going to get these little nuggets. And that one showed up in my inbox this morning at about 6:30. And I thought, this is perfect. I must repeat that.
And I'm extremely glad you did, because it is the perfect way to close out our interview and turn things back over to Dan. I have nothing left to say. That was fantastic. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, David. And Dan, the floor is.
Wow. Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate that. Well, a little bit loss of words at this point in time, but hey, there you go. We've got a lot of good information today. Before I turn you back to your seats, you're gonna have a little time with your tables and bounce around the room for a little while. I want to say thank you to obviously all the contributors to the booklet, all of our presenters today. Obviously put a lot of time and effort into providing good information to you. I also want to personally thank Lisa and Nikki and the rest of the staff at the Chamber, even though we're not necessarily seeing them. And you see that they're at their houses, they're in the buildings, they're at different locations, still providing value to us as much as they possibly can through all of this unique times that we're at. So again, Emily, thank you so much for running all of the show today and helping us out with the platform as we switch computers and do all the different presentations. Also, thank you to our sponsors, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, Consumers Energy, OHM Advisors. We appreciate your continued support of the state community event. Thanks to all of you for spending some time with us this afternoon virtually. There's a couple of words that Judy mentioned. I think I want to repeat before I let you back to your tables is that, just be gracious, be kind, at the same time, be purposeful this year. We have a lot of people out there that are suffering right now that we don't know about. Everybody you walk into has their own issues. Reach out to other people. We're finding a lot of people right now that they're closed in. So if you can spend once a day, try to how to be kind, that would be a great challenge for this year. So other than that, go back to your tables. Have a great 2021. If you have any questions, call any of us. Thank you so much.